Okay, you have a superpower that you might not know about, and I'm going to talk about this superpower in today's video. But before I get into how you can actually implement this into your life, because this has been one of the most life-changing things for me, is just realizing this and being able to use it when I need to. And that's resourcefulness, right? Before I get into that, I want to talk about a story of, my life and times I've had to be resourceful. And the thing is, I've been, I don't come from money. Like, I wasn't necessarily like poor growing up. But, after my parents got divorced, when I was like 16, 17, my mom was basically like a single mom, and she was working, a couple, jobs. And I was like 17. I was still a teenager, right? So I was still learning how to be a man. And I'm working a bunch of jobs, and I'm trying to essentially find my way through life, right? And I'm just trying to be successful, just like any other man, right? So I'm going to take you to like age 23, right? So age 23, I'm 29 now. This is 6 years ago. My fucking math is correct. And at age 29 years old, I lived in San Dimas, California. So if you look that up on the map, it's like 45 minutes-ish, like inland from LA. So maybe an hour, depending on traffic. California traffic is fucking horrible, right? So I lived with my mom on her living room floor, okay? I would ride my bike, which was a bike that my uncle gave me to, essentially I would ride my bike to work. I worked a sales job. And that's how I would get around town. I had a literal fucking bike, and I was 23 years old, okay? I had no car. I had a suitcase of clothes, which was just like thrift store clothes. And I wore like the same 5 shirts every week. I was bodybuilding, I was trying to be a fucking bodybuilder, which was hard. Not to fucking make it seem like it's some fucking sob story, but it's just harder when you don't have money. Like, I was just like eating tuna and rice and eggs, and I was just doing what I could. I still made good results, still had good results, but I'm just trying to paint the picture for you. So like, I lived down the street from the gym. So like, it's a couple blocks. I would ride my bike there. I go to work, which is my sales job. And luckily I have like a company car. So I did have a company car at the sales job, which later on I was able to use like for my own personal stuff. Shout out to my boss, Clint. But I worked sales, and I don't want to talk too much about what happened in California, but because I want to talk about that in another video. But I want to take you to when I moved to Pennsylvania. So around age 23, I like, I said, I was living with my mom and my sisters, and we were in one apartment, and we were just arguing a lot, normal stuff. It wasn't super crazy or super hardcore. It was just like, we just were kind of just sick of each other's shit, and we couldn't live with each other anymore. And honestly, I was 23. I was almost turning 24. So, and I remember my 23rd birthday was like a few weeks after I moved there. My mom picked me up from my dishwashing job, right? So I was a dishwasher at an old person's home, and she picked me up from that job, and she brought me back to her apartment and threw a surprise party for me. So that was really cool. All my aunts and uncles and cousins were there. And my aunt, this was like 6 years ago, but my aunt, she gave me this weed pen, and I hit this, because it was in California, hit this weed pen, and I like fell asleep like for like 2 hours. Anyway, I just remember that. It was so funny. Like, my aunt came, let me hit the pen, I just fucking knocked out. But so I basically tell my mom, I'm like, I'm moving back to Pennsylvania, and I want to just essentially do my own thing. I had no fucking plan. I literally just hit one of my friends up. His name's Nick. You guys have probably seen him in my content. He's one of my first fitness clients. Literally, it was one of my first fitness clients. I hit him up. I was like, hey bro, could you help me out? Like, do you have an extra room I could come stay in? I got to get out of my mom's and blah, blah, blah. And luckily, thankfully, him and his dad and mom, they literally let me live there in his brother's old room. So I moved to Pennsylvania, right? I'm 23, 24 years old. I have a suitcase, and the way that you have to operate in moments like this is like, you have to be very resourceful. So the way that I had set up like the flight back home is like I used essentially all the money that I had to get a flight back home to Pennsylvania home. And I had set up a Lyft and Uber. So this is like in 2000, like, I don't know, 18 or 19. And like, there was no Uber and Lyft, like where I lived. So there was like, some dude had to come from 28 minutes away from like Stroudsburg, come pick me up in like a beat up Prius, to take me to this tax filing job interview, which I ended up getting. I was paid like $10 an hour to do like very basic, like, data entry stuff. But I just remember those times where I had another bike that I came home and I had another bike, right? So my friend's dad gave me his bike now. So I have another bike that I'm riding around town. And, you know, a lot of people knew that I went to California because I was still posting on social media. For a long time, I've been trying to build my brand on social media. Unsuccessfully, because I never really applied myself fully to it. And this is, you know, one of the biggest reasons is because I wasn't being resourceful enough. But I was in this situation where I came back to Pennsylvania and I started to run into people that I knew from back home because I had left for like a year. And I start to get back into Pennsylvania and kind of like, you know, where I'm from, if you're not from here, it's very dull. It's very like slow. It's very, for lack of a better word, boring. It's just boring, right? There's like not much going on. There's a lot of older people. It's, you know, the houses are very spread out. You know, the closest grocery store was like literally fucking, when I lived there, it was like 5 minutes away. But when I grew up, it was like 25 minutes away. So we learned to fucking, and especially since, you know, my mom was always so resourceful, we learned to have fun without money. We learned to get by with a little. But what I think really the most important part is I learned to essentially harness the power out of the little things that would seemingly seem like little. I harnessed the power out of them by being resourceful. And I'm going to explain how. So I have, you know, I'm living out of a suitcase. I live with my friend at the time, and I'm still bodybuilding, and I'm just working essentially dead end jobs, right? I have no car, and I work a job that's like 5 minutes down the road. It's not the ideal job, but I have a bike, and it's like a bike ride enough away that makes sense. Like I could do the bike ride. So I start doing that, and I'm being resourceful, right? I just started to use externally. So we're going to talk about external resources and internal resources. So externally, I was really good at using my resources, right? Like I found a bike to, you know, so like my dad's friend gave me a bike. I found a job that was very close. The gym was also very close, right? I made sure I set up a situation where I could still be resourceful, right? I used essentially all the money I had to just eat clean food and, excuse me, eat clean food. And then also, you know, I bought, the little money I had, I bought like $130 refurbished Chromebook, right? So this is 2019. And I have clients, fitness clients, right? So I'm coaching people on the side and not doing it full time, but I'm never like conceptualizing like the fact that I could turn it into a full-time business, but I'm still being as resourceful as possible. So then I have you know, a couple good friends, and then, you know, one of my friends, Jaron, he had a Volvo in his yard, like an old, essentially like a beat up Volvo in his yard. It was like a 98 fucking S9. I forget what it was called, but it was literally just box. You can see it, by the way, if you look up this the story of Gabe. It's like a video my friend Pablo posted, which we should talk about that in the next video. But anyway, it's like a boxy Volvo. I drove that around. My friend Jaron fixed it up for me and let me make payments on it. It was like $1,500, and I made payments on that to him. So I was being very resourceful, right? I was also always delivering value in exchange. Like, I didn't just like, cause my friends, right? They were bodybuilders. I was friends with a lot of people that worked out, and a lot of times I didn't really have money to fucking give them because I was broke, right? But I still needed like rides to the gym, and I still needed I needed help, right? I still needed that car. So I always operated in a way with my friends and people in my life where I just try to give them something, like some sort of value, like if some sort of fitness knowledge, or if it's just lending an ear, some sort of advice, or just making them, feel like they're listened to and heard, and, just being like, it sounds so fucking like basic and like almost you wouldn't even think of it, just like, but being a good friend to people. Because think about it, if you're broke, you don't really have much to give, right? Financially, but you can still give people your fucking time. And that's the most important thing. So I always realized that it's like, I wasn't just asking people for shit left and right. I was always reciprocating, and I was always creating value first, creating that goodwill first, because I knew it's like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. It was always a reciprocated exchange. And that's the thing too, is like, this is what I mean by like those external resources. Like there's like people, right? Because you can be resourceful with people. And one of the biggest things with being resourceful with other individuals is it's always it's like a reciprocated effect that's exponential, as in like you get something, they get something, and you both grow in multiples because of it, right? This is super important to know, because you have to be able to connect with other humans. That's how anything great is built. Like even on the most basic level, because I'm a coach, I'm a one-on-one coach, like I'm telling you, dude, like breakthroughs, like we're talking about a Google Meet call, like a Zoom call, like a video call on the like virtual, where my clients are having breakthroughs. You know what I mean? And admittedly, even myself, I'm having breakthroughs too at the same moment, right? As a coach. So that's something I always did. I was like, I need to be resourceful with the people in my life. It's like, it can't just be like we hang out and fucking smoke weed together. Like there has to be something beyond that, right? So that's what I started to do. And I started to realize that there was all these resources that I could use to better my life. One of the easiest ones, and I'll tell you guys a story to kind of tie this in together, is I have something called, which I don't even want to call it this, but it's like the notebook theory. It's the notebook and pen theory, where I believe, right, that you can change your whole life with a pen and a new notebook, right? Just go to Staples, go to Dollar General, get a pen and get a notebook, like a yellow notepad, a new notepad, whatever it is. And that's essentially how you're gonna, and I have other videos about that. I'll make a video about the notebook and pen theory thing, which really is just a strategy. It's fucking simple. Just make a to-do list, right? But there's a lot more to it. And I think that this is the thing with things like that, right? And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to try to get too off track, but I'm going to go back into the story. The thing with resourcefulness, you have to understand, is like, it's too easy to overlook those things that are too close and too simple, right? You would never think like, this pen and paper can change my life, right? Because it's just too easy, right? You would never think like, if I'm right, the food in my fridge has an impact on my energy levels and the way that I'm going to feel and the way I'm going to be operating, right? The fucking running shoes that I have to go on runs, right? Maybe I'm not looking at the backpack that I never fill it up, and I never fill it up with shit and water or whatever the fuck, and then go on a hike. These simple things, right? These simple things that we can use, because again, I'm talking in a way where this could be at both ends of the dynamic. For you guys that have no money or you're struggling financially, you have to be able to use those resources that are external, that are like, hey, can I pick up, this is obviously a napkin, but can I pick this up and whatever it is, and can I use it in some way, shape, or form to better my life, right? And for you guys that have money, for a lot of guys that have money, it's even easier, right? It's easier to overlook those things because you're so used to it, right? You have more access to it. But this is what I mean, is like just being consciously aware of your surroundings and looking at like, hey, like, I don't have much, I don't have this, I don't have that. That's fine and dandy and great, but what do you have, right? I always think about that. I'm like, okay, what can I do right now? Because I've been in a lot of fucked up situations in my life where I'm like, okay, everything's crashing down around me. What can I do right now, today? Because all I have is today, which is another way of being resourceful, is understanding the hours that you have and really the implication of time, right? All of those external resources. Now we have the internal resources, which are my favorite. Now you got to get the fucking pen and the notebook out, because you're going to need to take notes on this shit. Now, hold on now. The internal resources are even more important, I'd say. One of the biggest ones is courage, right? And we'll talk about traits, internal traits. Courage being one of the most important resources. I also want you to think about your pain, the things you've been through. And I also want you to think about, and not just consider it, some of the negative emotions and associations that you have with some people in your life. Okay? Follow me. All of these things create what I like to, what could be looked at as like internal energy, right? You have the internal resources that create the energy. Think of like gasoline for a car, right? You have the source that gives the energy. Now, these resources can be used in a way that can quite literally propel you to the fucking any level that you want to get to, essentially. Now, it's easier said than done, and one of the biggest reasons is because a lot of times we as humans, we don't understand what we can't see, right? That's like the biggest thing. This is why we have therapists, right? This is why we have coaches. This is why we have individuals and programs and things like this and resources to help us understand what we cannot conceptualize with our own eyes. Courage, which does not mean not being scared. It just means acting in spite of fear, right? Where you're like, I am scared, but I'm going to do it anyway, right? And then, like I said, those negative associations that you have with some people, because the truth is while courage has been an extremely beneficial for me, right? Just like saying, hey, I'm going to go all in, right? And on the other end, remembering what certain people have said to me and what certain people have done to me and what things have happened in my life involving other people, I've always used that as a resource. Always. And you have to understand this, okay? Now, let me just say this before I get into this, okay? I'm not saying that this is everybody, because it's not. It's not. But the chances are that you are this person because you're watching my fucking YouTube, all right? So let's just cut the shit here and let's just be real. There's nothing better than fucking sticking it to those people that doubted you. Those people that talk shit on you. Those people that tried to make it hard for you. They tried to cause friction in your fucking life. Now, think about this for a second. Because I can talk to anybody about things or people that have done them wrong, and you can see their whole fucking energy change. Like right now, I have the chills just talking about it, right? I'm like tapping my foot. I'm ready to go. I didn't fucking take a drug. I didn't take anything. I didn't fucking see anything. I used my internal resource, right? Now I feel like, okay, I want to knock all these motherfuckers down like I'm a bulldozer. Internal resource. You're forgetting about it. That's one of the biggest, if not many times, will be the most important fucking resource that you need to harness. Okay? Other people will tell you it's wrong. Look at their fucking life and look at mine. And I'm not saying that in a cocky way. Just look at their life and look at my life. And I'm not even saying that, yay, I'm happy about it and like, yeah, man, let's just stick it to them. There are going to be times where your life is so fucked up, everything's crashing around you, that it's almost fucking comical, right? It gets so bad that it's almost funny, right? And this is where we start to talk about like kind of like letting that psycho in, letting the savage side of you in, and just like stop trying to have fucking control over every little fucking thing. You need to tap into your animalistic side a little bit more. To my brothers out there watching this, okay? It's the simplest fucking way. Been times where all I had was that. All I had was the negative opinions of other people and what people had said to me and the things that had been done to me that had made me angry. Is all I had was that, right? So instead of it being like, fuck, this happened to me, like or my circumstances are so fucked up, whatever it is, instead I used it as energy. I stopped saying, okay, fuck, and I started looking like, I can get nothing out of this, and I started looking at it like this. I started looking at it like, no, this has to be what I use to get where I want to go. This has to be what I fucking use. This has to be the resource for my success. And it wasn't only that. Like I said, there was many other things. But a lot of you guys, guess what? That's all you have. You haven't accomplished what you want to accomplish yet. You haven't made the progress in your life that you want to make yet. And guess what? All you have is the doubt of other people. All you have is literally all the shit that other people said to you when they said you couldn't do what you wanted to do. I think back to all the times that I had to use those internal resources, courage, right? I think back to all those times. And if none of those things happened, I wouldn't be where I am today. Do you understand what I'm saying? Instead of looking at it like it was a bad thing, I started to use it for my own productivity. At the end of the day, the most important thing is being able to use the resources that you have externally and internally. And the moment that you realize that you have everything you need, that's when it changes. It's when you think that you don't have these things. That's when you feel stuck. It's never the case. You have the tools, you just need to use them. No victim.